All right, so good afternoon to all the folks in the Eastern Seaboard or EST time, and good morning to the folks on Central time. Welcome to Accountability and Hopeful Fridays. This is our every Friday session, and we typically meet at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but for the holidays, we are meeting at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will not be meeting on the week of Christmas. So that's the week we'll be taking one session off, but every other week during December, we'll be meeting at 12 p.m. Rather than 3:30 p.m. And then come January, we'll go back to our 3:30 schedule. So moving along. So this is our goal. I just want to reiterate the goal. Like I mentioned before, I know Dominic is new to the call, and I see 14 other people on the call, so I do not know who else is new. But I just want to reiterate to the audience, our goal is to uplift and support those pursuing new career paths, fostering accountability and instilling hope for a brighter future. So, and I'll talk about a little bit about where this stemmed from um, in a few seconds. So, why did we see a need for this meeting? So, as many of you already know this, a few months ago, by the way, Accountability and Hopeful Fridays has only been around for 7 sessions, believe it or not. So we're pretty new to the world. And but nevertheless, I ran into a gentleman, and he had been looking for a job for a long time, and it had been over 2 years, and he was really down in the slumps. And I take mental health pretty seriously. I'm a military veteran, and I've lost a few of my buddies through suicide, so I take it pretty seriously. So I thought if he was feeling pretty down in the slumps, depressed, not being able to find a job, looking for a job for a long time, there are probably other people who are also in the same boat. So that stirred up or triggered me to start Accountability and Hopeful Fridays. The whole point of this session is to have a sense of togetherness, but I do not want you to get too comfortable in this group. The whole point of these sessions is for you to not be part of these sessions or to get out of these sessions, right? We want you to find a job and move on to bigger and better things. um, to provide mental and emotional stability, sharing of intel. I like to have that military term. If someone is doing something right, hey, can I trademark infringe that? Can I make it mine? Can I do it on my own? Take that information and use that to my benefit. We provide some sort of accountability. We'll go through that in a few more slides, where people are able to um, create their own SMART goal, and have their goal to be accomplished by next Friday's session. And then we talk a little bit about hope, something good that is happening where others can emulate. And of all things, this is the main thing. It's all about your thoughts, your brain. Your attitude will determine your altitude. So I just want to make sure you cannot see my Teams window, right? Okay, good. Thank you. So just some quick stats on where we are. We are on our seventh session. We've had five guest speakers, excluding Karen, who's our guest speaker for today. We have had three past members. What does that mean? That means um, previous members of AHF have gotten jobs and moved on to their careers. And last I checked today, we had 64 members on LinkedIn and counting. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Karen Lim. She's been in the HR business forever. I want to say 20 plus years.
Right.
And we always ask one question to our guest speakers. But before we do that, Karen, do you mind doing a quick introduction of yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Karen Lim, you are correct. It dates me a little, but I have over 20 years in human resources in different industries. I have been directly responsible for talent acquisition or have advised leaders in the process, but it's not my specialty. I would rather coach leaders, help leaders be better leaders, and help companies through their people issues as a coach, guide, and HR business partner. Thank you.
Cool beans. Thank you, Karen. So, like we always ask all our guest speakers, can you share one piece of so-called secretive information that many job seekers may not know that they can use to their benefit in their career search?
Well, I think I may have taken a slightly different approach than some of your other speakers, but I think that's okay. So let's be a little different sometime. But what is the insider golden nugget to help you land a job? I have many tips, both from having been out of work several times, but also being on the inside of this process, recruiting, talent acquisition. I can tell you what to leave off your resume, how to network better. Um, but my tip is that there's no magic key. How is this helpful? I want this not to be an obstacle. Early on, I would seek out guest speakers and events like this and look for any golden nugget that I can use and try. What have I not tried? Now, my mistake, and it's easy to do, was internalizing the lack of results. So you're networking, you're applying, you're trying all these things and it's not working. I'm doing it wrong. Or what am I missing? I was really tough on myself. And what works for one might not work for somebody else. And they don't tell you that. So you think, oh, I'm seeing that guy land. What did he do to get his job? And that one landed and she's a VP. You know, how did she get that? I think enough people in life and business are going to judge you and put you down. And we don't need to be doing that to ourselves. So have realistic expectations. And a good example is that is if you're an introvert, you're not going to have 20 networking meetings a week. Maybe set a realistic goal for you. So for some people, that might be five, meet five new people a week. But for others, it's going to be one. Make it relevant to you, make it something that you can absolutely do. Another example of realistic expectations is when you reach out to people on LinkedIn at your target companies and they don't respond. Realize that most aren't going to respond. You know, this was one thing that I kept, trying and scattergun contacting on LinkedIn to try to get my foot in the door. Hey, can you give me 15 minutes? Hey, I'm very interested in your company. Um, Positive, quick. I didn't ask for a lot of time. I made it a personal connection and it still wasn't working. And I would internalize that thinking, I'm doing this wrong. So I don't want you to internalize the lack of results or if it's not happening for you yet. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try new things or push our boundaries a little bit, but have realistic expectations. Just don't internalize and think that it's you. It is not you. This is a crazy job market. It has never, ever been like this in history. This also doesn't mean that you shouldn't take action. You know, a job isn't going to come knocking on our doors. Someone's, you hear stories, oh, someone tapped me on the shoulder and they reached out to me and they offered me this job because we worked together before. That's great if that happens to you. But we do still have to go through the motions. We do still have to take actions to make this happen for us. We will all eventually land and we will find what works, but maybe it's one thing. Maybe it's a combination of things that you hear from different guest speakers and in different workshops and seminars on job loss. Um, I chose this topic because it can get in the way of your progress, thinking I'm doing all these things and nobody's answering me back and I'm not getting any interviews, I'm not getting any activity. Don't internalize that. It's not you. Just keep trying, keep your momentum, and give yourself a little grace. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Karen. I think what I'm not going to say I think, I know what you just said um, is very relevant to pretty much most of us, to include myself on the call. Sometimes I too am like applying, but not necessarily getting those results. Like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Is my resume messed up? Like, hey, what are they looking at my LinkedIn or something? Just trying to poke holes in whatever I'm doing, right? So, um, yeah, it's important not to give up, continue striving, but not to be hard on yourself. Thank you, Karen.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, so Karen, if you don't mind